and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another GT Sport Rally video. This time round it's going to be very similar to the last one I did a few weeks ago. It's a pair of Porsches, and as you've seen in the thumbnail, I am going to be putting them up against one another. Now, the last video I did a few weeks ago was a really interesting one for me anyway. It was comparing two 911s, quite old ones compared to the ones that I've got today. However, one of them was turbocharged, the other was naturally aspirated, and it was really interesting to see how they behaved compared to one another, considering on paper that they were so similar to each other. Now, if you do want to go back and watch that previous video, please do. I will link it down in the description. Just follow the link and that should take you directly to the video. Now, what I noticed most with that last video was just how incredibly usable the Porsches were. I went into that video not really expecting them to do particularly well. Being rear configuration, I was expecting the back end to be far too heavy, to probably try and spin around far too frequently, but actually they weren't like that at all. Granted, I enjoyed the turboed model a lot more than I did the naturally aspirated, but either way, both of them, even taking them online, they were actually competitive, even with some of the rally cars that you can get within the game. Now, this time around, I did want to change things up a little bit, and I've done something that a lot of people would think would be absolutely crazy, but there is a slight method to my madness here. So what I've done is I've selected another pair of Porsches. This time round, they are quite different from one another. You've got the 911 GT3, the 996 from 2001, which is going to be going up against the 911 GT3, but the 997 from 2009. Just like last time though, what I have actually done is set these cars to their maximum settings, so the power has been raised on both as much as is humanly possible, and the weight has been dropped as far as I possibly can as well. And now this is where it seems a little bit crazy, because they are very different from one another on paper. So the newer 997 from 2009 has actually got 638 brake horsepower versus the 2001 996's 538 brake horsepower. So there's a huge 100 bhp difference there, and it actually means that the newer 997 is actually in a different category. It comes in at N600 versus the 996's N500. Just to compound that even more, the 997 has got a huge amount of torque in comparison to the 996 there, with 65.4 versus 57.4. In fact, the only saving grace really for that older 996 is the fact that the weight is 1,161 kilograms versus 1,199 on the 997. So as you can very clearly see, the odds are firmly stacked in the newer GT3 997's favour. However, I haven't completely gone mad, and there is a reason that I've decided to put this event together. Now, dirt is a great way to level a playing field because there is very limited traction, which means more powerful cars quite often really struggle to just put that power down. And actually, some of the slower cars with less power can, and even heavier as well, can actually do really well on the dirt. So as always with both of these builds, I can actually adjust the setups on the vehicles as much as I want to make them feel comfortable. And trust me, with both these cars, just like the previous Porsches, they do need a lot of playing around with to get them usable on the dirt. As they come straight out of the box, they are far too low. They just bounce around all over everything. But even with that being said, even when you do raise the suspension up, make them softer, make them more comfortable to actually use, it still only takes one dodgy bounce off of one of these jumps, and that is just going to put you facing the wrong way or straight into a barrier and completely ruin your lap time. But if you take a look at the numbers at the bottom of both of those cards there, this is where you'll see that I'm not going completely mad. So the newer, more powerful 911 GT3 from 2009 has got far more power, as we know, but it really does struggle to put that down on the dirt, or at least in a consistent way. So for me personally, I had to tone that right back, which is why that max speed is so much higher. It's actually meaning that the gears are extended much further so that the car can put that power down. However, what that actually means then is that the acceleration across the board here, if you look there, is incredibly close and actually goes in favour of the older GT3, meaning it can put its power down that much more. Again, team that with the stability on the 996 there being that much better at 4.3, and everything else is really close across the board. So this again should be a really good competition. Okay, so let's get down to what both of these cars actually achieved. Now this time round, I have changed the rules slightly. Last time I did 10 laps with each car. This time I just did 5 with each car. It's just down to time constraints. I just did not have the time to do 10 laps with each one. But what you are now seeing on screen is actually the best lap times that I recorded with both cars. And I am starting here with the more powerful on paper 911 GT3, the 997 from 2009. Of the two cars on offer here, this was definitely the harder one to tune. There's something about it that just kind of wants to take you for a drive rather than it being the other way round. So it was really important to take away a little bit of power, give you the control that you required, but without taking too much away that the car becomes dull and uncompetitive. The other issue I was finding with this one was that it just likes to slide a little bit too much. Certainly out of the box, this car is a drift machine. However, it's not the fastest way round a dirt track, obviously going completely sideways. There is an element of having to control slides and obviously keep the car pointing in the right direction, and certainly from a turning point of view, it definitely helps to be able to bring that back end out ever so slightly, or at least it does for the way I drive anyway. But this one just likes to continuously rotate further and further, which is going to slow you down. It's a load of fun to use like that, but it's definitely not going to be winning you any races. But with the current tune on it, you can definitely feel just how capable this car is. It feels like it's got bags of power, and I'm sure if you got even more used to this car and spent a lot more time with it than I did, you could slowly build up that power, bring down that top speed, increase that acceleration, and get some incredible lap times with it. And so now we're on to the lesser powered 996, and you probably guessed from the way I was talking about the other car there, this one is very different indeed. It's really easy to get straight into and enjoy. Certainly if you're not particularly good on the soft stuff and you wanted to give one of these two cars a go, I would definitely recommend you go for this one first. It is lovely to drive straight out the box. There was still a bit of tuning to get this one to feel exactly how I wanted it to, and as you saw in that last video there, these cars definitely like to take off, as I mentioned earlier. So even with the ride height raised, they're still a little bit unpredictable when it comes to the bumpy stuff. The one very obvious difference between this and the last car is the fact that this one does feel a lot slower, but that has given me, as I mentioned before as well, the ability to really pull back that max speed, increase the acceleration, and use the power that's available, and it uses it just so much better. It definitely feels slower than the 997. However, it is a much more controllable, much more enjoyable drive in my opinion. But as we come up to the final section here of the track, the real question is though, are they actually competitive with one another? Bearing in mind they are in completely different categories within the game, N500 and N600, and on paper they should be miles apart from each other. Is my theory correct? Will these cars actually be pretty close to one another? And there we go, across the line, and the results are relatively surprising, I think, for a lot of people. They are incredibly close, but unsurprisingly, the 997 did come out slightly on top. So the 997 did do it in a 1 minute 24.672, whereas the 996 managed a 1:24.854. Bear in mind, I have only given this a very small amount of my time. It's only 5 laps per car, so there's definitely more to give with both of them. That being said, the tune that I have created for both of these cars, I'm quite comfortable with at the moment, and I will give you that in just a second once I finish chatting to you all. It really does go to show that power definitely does not solve all the problems when it comes to motor racing. And I have to say, of the two cars, which I'm sure you've picked up on from what I've said already, I would definitely personally choose the 996 to take out on track. It's just a far more enjoyable car on the dirt. It would be great to hear your feedback about this video, whether you've enjoyed it and whether there's any particular cars that you would like to see me do in the future in a similar kind of video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe. I've been seeing a real nice uplift in subscribers over the last few weeks, which is great to see. So welcome to all of the new people that have joined me over the last few weeks. Don't forget to give the video a like, and as I just said a second ago, if you do want to use either of the tunes that I've come up with for both of these cars, I am now just going to play them through at the end of the video here, so please stay till the end if you want to see both of those. I won't be talking over the top of them, I don't think I need to, but just pause them where you need to. Obviously copy them down onto your own game and you should be able to give them a go. Thanks for coming by the channel today. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. Make sure you stay safe and I'll see you all on the next one.